Good morning. Welcome to the Friday morning live stream. I am extraordinarily excited to be back. Last week, my brother and I were at a real estate conference type deal in Florida. So, no, it's not true. It was in Georgia. I flew down to Florida and then we drove up to Georgia. So that was tons of fun. And then we closed on 2 properties yesterday. So that officially puts us at 110. So it's very, very surreal, the level of growth that we've been able to achieve already in 2021 has been pretty remarkable. And we've still got 20 properties under contract. So we're going to be right at 130, hopefully by the end or by the middle of April. And that's what we're shooting for. And if you guys remember, the goal that we set was to get to 120 properties by the end of June. So we are cruising right through it. So if you have any questions, comments, or otherwise concerns that you want to discuss, go ahead and post some comments in the chat box and we'll get things rolling. In the meantime, I'll think of a few other things. Let's see. One of the properties that we purchased yesterday, it was a short sale from a bank. And as you're familiar, there's nothing short about a short sale. We've had that one under contract for a while, but that one is rented out Section 8 and it is in desperate need of a new roof. So it's got like tarps over the roof currently. But an interesting thing that I haven't run into yet is because the repairs weren't done, Section 8 started withholding the rent. Now that it's changed ownership, once we fix the roof, then we will get all of the rents that have been withheld, even from before we owned the property. So I think that's really cool. Pretty exciting stuff. Let's see if we have anything else. The other thing that I wanted to mention, of course, is PropStream. I need to pin a chat in the chat box. Let me get that set up. Here we go. Cool. And there it is. So let me know if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns. Happy to help. Happy to talk about real estate. Any and all real estate questions, truly. Now, at some point, Lewis Porter Jr. is going to hop on here and ask about the update for the firehouse. And I've got good news. We are officially 100% complete with the firehouse. So later today, I need to call the county and get the final inspection. We failed multiple inspections throughout this process, which it was a good learning experience, I guess. But by and large, it was really just frustrating. But now it's finished. It is rent ready. And I'm probably going to list it on the market for rent today as well. So that's very exciting. I'll make a video of that too and show all the updated pictures because it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Missing 1 week of a live stream is pretty detrimental. Slow start. Let's see. We've got 5 people here. Any questions you got? Oh, there we go. Chi Mikey, welcome back, man. I really appreciate you coming back again. We're going places. All right. Good morning. I'm still looking for an explanation on how to say your name. Man, I'm excited about it. Good morning, man. We've got some people coming back. This is exciting. Can an owner do anything with land/property in a flood zone to mitigate higher insurance costs? I have never seen anybody successfully mitigate the high insurance costs. I think the only thing that you could truly do to get rid of the cost altogether is pay off the property. Don't never leverage that property, pay it off, and then you won't have to carry flood insurance, which might be helpful. The other thing that you could do is you can get like elevation certificates, but it's a really long process. And I think the key thing to remember about flood insurance is the government is the reason that you're required to have it. So FEMA requires it, which is the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, which is a branch of FEMA. So they're the ones that kind of strong-armed all of the banks to participate in their flood insurance program. And if they're the ones that are responsible for the zoning and whatnot, determining, which areas are in a flood zone and which aren't. So if you want to dispute that, you're just kind of going at bat with the federal government. It would be no different than trying to get some sort of exception on your behalf, like from the IRS. So about the same entity, about the same level of inefficiency, and the frustrations of it being just this massive organization that's very slow moving, slow grinding, that is the government. How do you choose your lender? I choose all of them. So just as feverishly as I'm out here looking for properties for us to purchase, my brother calls banks that regularly. So we are always looking for different lenders to use. We don't have one bank that has all of our business. We use a lot of like local, regional banks, local credit unions, smaller regional banks. Maybe when we get larger, people like Wells Fargo or Chase, the bigger banks, maybe their commercial department would want to talk to us, but probably not. So I have found that local banks are generally the best for real estate investors, ones that are familiar with the market, understand the local workings of the real estate market, trends, seasons, housing prices. Then they have just a little bit more latitude about what they can lend on. So I would say your best bet for lenders are the local ones. I would not recommend you try to use like a Rocket Mortgage or Quicken Loans or some large brokerage or mortgage house for investment properties. It might work if you are like an absolute kind of cookie cutter W-2 person that has the 25% to put down. But if you're not that perfect template of a person, then I think local credit unions would be your best bet. Good question. 2 thumbs up. All right. Let's see. Any other questions? It might be a slow one if not, but I'm okay. I'm willing to sit here. But I do have my entire morning blocked out until 10 a.m. So we've got about an hour and 50 minutes left to answer any and all questions that you could ever possibly ask. Here we go. Happy New Light. Happy New Light. I don't think I have any new lights, but thank you. I'm a newbie to real estate investing, so any information you speak on is grand. I'm all ears, just a sponge right now, soaking it all up. Thanks for all your help. Thank you. I hope you are enjoying all the all the videos. How does Section 8 work? Like, how do you sign up for it if you had a property? Well, I don't think you really sign up for it. I think you just say in the description when you post it that you accept Section 8, and people have Section 8 vouchers, and the people can use those vouchers to rent out your property. So generally, Section 8 covers some of the rent, and then the individual is responsible for some percentage of the overall rent. But you still have to do the background check. You still have to make sure that this person, fits your requirements. As far as like getting them in a property, I really don't know. I've never really done it. The only time that we have had Section 8 is when we buy a property with a Section 8 resident already living there. We have not yet placed on our own anyone that has a Section 8 voucher. Hope that's helpful. We just had a high bid on a landscaping project, 3 times higher than a similar bid pre-pandemic. Have you had that experience? That sounds very frustrating. But no, I have not had that issue. I also don't do landscaping though. Any of the landscaping that we do, just the normal kind of construction crews do it. So what I prefer to do is when I'm like, as far as contractors go, just recently I've started piecing all the contractors together, like hire one person to do the electric stuff, one person to do windows, one person to do plumbing. But generally I just I prefer to hire one crew that has the ability to do all of the things, to include whatever landscaping work may need to be done. We haven't had to do any like driveway work or anything like that. And as far as bids pre and post pandemic, I don't really think so, because I think we've been using the same contractors the entire time, and we haven't had any gap or break in work for them, and their prices haven't really gone up any either. Any tips on looking into a new area to invest, especially in neighborhoods that could use help? I think you should do it. I think it really just comes down to like a gut feeling of, is this a neighborhood that I want to partner with and improve the conditions? So the things that I like to look for, amenities, of course. If the homes are lower value compared to the rest of the county, walkability is a big thing. Bus lines, public transportation, its accessibility there. I do look at crime. I think Trulia has a really fun interactive map that you can look at. So I generally stay away from the very dark blue Trulia areas. And let's see. I think, so my background's in law enforcement. I was a cop for 6 or 7 years, somewhere around there. And consequently, I really enjoy hanging out with law enforcement. Depending on who you talk to, if you talk to like the chief of the department, then I don't think you're really supposed to ask law enforcement about like their opinions on an area. I really don't know how that works anymore. I kind of forgot about that, but I've got a lot of law enforcement friends that I'll speak to about, what type of calls are generated from that area. My favorite thing to look for is grown men on children's bikes. If you see that ever, then it's likely not a good area that you want to invest in. That's one of my deal breakers. Whenever I see that, nope, not interested in the house, not interested in the street, not interested in the neighborhood. I think that's a funny thing. Let's see. Other than that, really just pride of ownership. That's another big thing that we look for regularly. So how well manicured are the lawns? Is there a bunch of trash on the street? Things like that. But, at the end of the day, if you have your like 30, 40 year goggles on and you are interested in getting a property on that street, and if you are interested in staying in that neighborhood, buying more homes in that neighborhood, then I think over the next like 30 or 40 years, you're going to be pretty hard pressed to make a bad decision. It sounds a little bit more. I don't know how this is going to sound, but like if you own the entire area, or if you have aspirations to own the entire area, then you would be the one responsible for placing all of the residents in that area. So you would have control over a little bit more control over what type of area that is. So if that's your intentions, the only way you can lose is by not continuing to be diligent. If you are truly focused on that area and you put all your real estate investing efforts into that area and regularly buy properties when they come available in that area, then you will have the ability to drastically improve that neighborhood if that's what you want to do. Good question, Chi Mikey. Always coming through with good questions. Tall and blind. Tollen B. Lind. Any questions you've got? Go for it. What are some? Are you nervous about getting into real estate investing? Do you have any negative preconceived notions? Are you nervous? Have you shared this with family, and have you heard all the horror stories about toilets and whatnot? Nikolai. The channel name is Bonjour USA. It's my immigration vlog for Russian fellows. Do you use school rating when choosing neighborhood to invest? No, but that's probably because of where we are. So city of Dayton has notoriously horrible schools. So the entire city doesn't have a good school rating and probably never will. And I think that might be, and again, I'm speaking out of my element here. I think I don't know. See, yeah, I don't know enough to say it. I was tempted to say that maybe most like inner city areas have bad school systems, but again, I'm not an expert in school systems, so I don't really pay attention to them, so I don't really know much about them. A long way of saying no, I don't consider that at all. We do have a couple of properties in a good school district outside of the city of Dayton, like one of the suburbs of Dayton. The rents are higher, and that's cool, but so are the property values. So when we're in Dayton, we can generally get close to or over the 2% rule. So if we spend 40 grand on a house, then we want it to rent out for at least $800 a month. That's what I mean by the 2%, since I know we've got a new person in here. And then in that suburb, we're closer to the 1%. So if we spend 100 grand on a property, it'll likely only rent out for $1,000 a month or so. Now we just bought one for $75,000 that rents out for $1,050. It didn't need any work, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, but that's not and that would be like a low B area, maybe a solid B area. I really don't know. I don't know how those ratings work. They're also subjective. Good morning, Tolu. I'm happy to see you back as well. What questions you got? How's man, I'm trying to remember. See, taking a week off is no good. No good. Missing this week, this live stream. I lost track. Let's see here. You were looking at something in like the $200,000 range, right? Did that come to fruition? Do you have an accepted offer on it, or are you still looking around? Let's see. What you got? What you got? What you got? Answering some real estate questions. Pretty exciting stuff. I've got the YouTube tab open and it's really confusing me. It also looks like the screen is frozen. I hope we're not frozen. I think I'm looking at something wrong. All right. So any real estate questions you have, any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and put them in the chat. Let's see here. Post your questions in the chat. All right. Where's my little ticker that says I have no idea what I'm talking about? There we go. Seek professional counsel prior to taking any action. And that is not me. No professional counsel here. Let's see here. One fear of starting, saving a lot of money over time, and then fearing you will lose it all in one bad decision. Let's talk about that. I think it's pretty tough to lose money in real estate if you are looking at it over like 30, 40 years. So, how would you lose money in real estate? You could not do the appropriate amount of due diligence, and you could find that there were a lot of repairs that are necessary that you didn't budget for. That would be one thing. Let's see here. If it burned down, your insurance would cover it. So make sure you have insurance. Let's see. Yeah, I'm really struggling on how you would lose money in real estate. Because even if, let's say you bought a house for 50 grand and you paid for it in cash, the chances of that property going to zero is very slim. So long as it's always a livable place, then it's not going to be worth zero. Now, if you were in a higher market, not the Midwest, and you buy a property, let's say one of these California homes for like 1.3 million, and then the market turned and then it's worth like 200,000, that would make more sense. But if you are buying investment properties in investment neighborhoods, I don't think the value would ever, I don't think your initial capital or your down payment could be lost. I hope that makes sense. Because over the 30, 40 years, I mean, even if you have to make, so let's say you bought a house for 50 grand and then you had to put, 50 grand into the property, you're improving it. And then that 50 grand that you had to put into it, I mean, now you have a new property where it's going to be hopefully maintenance free for quite some time. So as long as you have the property rented, you'll slowly be accumulating your initial money back. I'm not saying you'd ever lose money in real estate. I think it's just a fear that keeps folks from starting. I see. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's one of the things that I actually just recently kind of had an epiphany on of, just talking on this live stream and people asking, like, what are some red flags on properties that would make you not buy it anymore? And for the most part, I mean, red flags, anything that could go wrong with the property, any repairs that are needed, things along that line. It's one of those things like, so long as you like have budgeted for it, then it's not really a red flag or insurmountable. And it can also be used as like a point of negotiation. So, if the house has an after repair value of 100,000, but it needs $20,000 worth of work, then even if you just wanted to break even and have a nice house, you shouldn't spend more than like $80,000 on the property. So in that case, so long as you get it for less than 80,000, you didn't really lose anything. And the quote unquote red flags have been mitigated from the purchase price. So it's not really a red flag anymore. It's just another line item to deal with. I'm still looking and getting frustrated. If you don't offer above asking price, it's a no. And I've offered on more than 20 houses since January. No luck. That's serious. That's very serious. Totally. More power to you. Way to be disciplined and persistent. At some point, you will get a property. Just don't go too high over asking. You're in the DFW area, is that right? That's pretty crazy. Maybe are there like suburbs or some rural areas that you can go out to if that's what you're interested in? I don't know. That's pretty crazy. I'm trying to obtain funding without a PG, without a PG. So building my business credit seems to be a slow process. Trying to obtain funding without a personal guarantee? I don't know about that. I don't think that's a real thing. I have had a lot of conversations with people because there's some places out there. I don't remember where I heard that from, but there were a lot of people talking about not wanting to have any personal guarantees on anything, and I just think that's an absolute waste of time. I get why some people want that, but I don't know why any bank would ever give you that, especially especially on like if it's an LLC. You can fold LLCs so quickly. You could do a sleight of hand and leave that bank, holding an empty bag real quick. I personal guarantee. I have a personal guarantee on every house that I own, and I am completely okay with that. I have heard of like large multifamily guys when there's it's like a syndication and there's like 80 people on the deal. There's no personal guarantee there, but that's because the asset is self-sufficient. In the single family home space, I don't know of anybody that doesn't have a personal guarantee on their loans. I have had long conversations about this to commercial lenders from the local regional credit unions. And I mean, all of them give like a resounding no, that's not a real thing. I've even inquired about like how big of a business do you have to be before the personal guarantee is no longer required. And I've had a conversation with a guy that was worth around 100 million, and what he did, he still personally guaranteed everything, but he started negotiating the percentage of his personal guarantee or the amount of his personal guarantee way down. So if it was like $1 million loan, he might only personally guarantee like 100,000 of it. But even if you personally guarantee a loan, it doesn't show up on your credit or anything. I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and I wish I remember. That was one of the first things that I was just like, you know what, maybe I need to, start a YouTube channel or something. Because I was frustrated at how misleading that information was when I heard it. And guys acting like they buy single family homes without personal guarantees. It's not a real thing. Real estate investing, just be prepared to be a personal guarantor. It doesn't matter. Just don't default, and everything is fine. Is it true that when buying a property, anything that can go wrong will go wrong? No. Oh, what a bad way to even look at life, right? That's depressing. You say Sadi. Yeah, that's no. I'll just take it at face value as a yes or no question, and my answer will be no. Thanks for the laugh, and turn that frown upside down. Life is full of things to be surprised about. No need to be pessimistic. What's that thing that pessimists like to say? I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. Don't listen to those people. They're pessimists without the self-awareness of realizing that they're pessimists. I think, yeah, I'm gonna move on unless we run out of time. Then I might come back to that for some more laughs. Cash flow on this property are also ridiculous. I'm talking less than $200 a month on a. Get out of that market, Tolu. Find some other way to make money. don't buy that house. That's a major outlay of capital for a very, very small return. What What is that? Oh my goodness. Let me pull out this little handy dandy calculator. Let's see. My phone is about to die too. What a bad time to almost die. I guess there's also no real good time for a phone to die either. Let's see. A $200,000 house. You need $50,000. That's a down payment. And then you're talking about $200 a month. So that's $2,400. So that's like a 4%, 5% cash on cash return. That's horrible. You would be better off. You'd be better off lending money to other people if you than doing that. I guess though, if you're spending 150 to 200,000, it's likely that the house is going to appreciate. You're still going to get the principal pay down. Oh, it's just so much money for such little return that I don't want you to do it. I'm like we've talked about before, though. I'm sure there are people in your market that are making money, but I don't think that's how they're doing it. I would really encourage you to network with some other real estate investors and really get to the bottom of how they're making money. I wouldn't talk to the people that have a couple. I would talk to the people that have 10 or more of these properties that can really guide you. I'm sure their angle is finding distressed properties, and like putting in work. I mean, in that market, it might even make more sense to do the build to rent model. Because I mean, if you're paying 200 grand for a house, you can build a house for less than that, and it would be brand new. I'm really looking forward to when building in my market actually makes sense, but we're a long way off, because here you can still buy homes for 50 grand and they don't need any work. It would be like 200 grand to build that same house. Well, thank you for this layup of a question. If you notice in the pinned comment, there's PropStream. You can get a lot of off-market deals utilizing PropStream. PropStream is also integrated with some skip trace software. So if you see a house that you're interested in, if you're doing the whole like quote unquote like driving for dollars things, just like looking for properties with deferred maintenance, looking for boarded up properties, looking for otherwise abandoned properties, you can find them on PropStream. PropStream also integrates with like Google Maps. And then you could click on the property. You could see the owner's information. You could see all the tax information. You could see the mailing address, any mortgage information, any foreclosure information, all of the previous sales history. And then since it's integrated with the skip tracing software, you can also just pay, I think it's like 10 cents, maybe 12 cents. I don't remember offhand. And you could get the person's phone number and email address. And it's pretty slick. You could even use the filters in PropStream to pull all of the properties in a particular area, and then you could skip trace them all at once and kind of create a mailing list, albeit emails or postcards. PropStream also integrates with it's a third party. They outsource the actual making of postcards, but you could send postcards to as many properties as you really want to. Now, of course, those cost extra as well, but there are thousands of different ways to get off-market deals. But I think PropStream has made it extraordinarily easy to get an immense amount of data and immediately start marketing to people. So, pulling a big list of properties that you're interested in and then marketing to them, sending them emails, sending them postcards. You could do that. And then PropStream also has a bunch of foreclosure information, so you could find which properties are in foreclosure. Very good data aggregator. I'm a huge fan of PropStream. And then let's see here, off-market wholesalers, they're good for that. So if you go and just type in if you go on Facebook and find like a Facebook group for your local area, I'm sure you're going to find a lot of wholesalers. And you still have to do just as much due diligence, if not more, when working with a wholesaler than if you were to find a property on the MLS. Definitely walk through it. Don't trust their numbers. You have to. I heard at this conference that I was at this past week, I heard somebody say that wholesalers really, unless you have gone through the process of buying, renovating a property multiple times, then you really shouldn't be speaking to how much something will or will not cost to rehab it. So definitely do your own research and make sure that everything they're saying is valid. But that's the case in anything. Do your own due diligence. Don't get caught holding a big old bag. Houston, yeah. I don't know about that. There's got to be some places around that. I've been looking at a town in eastern Ohio for long distance investing. Do you know why people choose to rent when the mortgage would be cheaper? Probably for reasons you could imagine as well. Credit, not having enough cash on hand. My brother and I used to ask this question to each other a lot because we bought, one of the first properties that we bought. I bought the property for $28,000. I put $7,000 down, and the mortgage on that property is $112 per month. It's rented out for $750 per month. And then when you add the pet fees and whatnot, it's really close to $800. So, there are tons of reasons to rent instead of owning. And even in these lower priced homes, sure, the price to enter a home would be cheaper, but the cost of maintaining a home, regardless of the purchase price, is going to be the same. The cost for me to maintain a home and Tolu out in Houston, it's going to be just about the same amount of money. If the roof goes bad and you don't have reserves, enough cash on hand to pay for that roof, then you're kind of out of luck. So if you're not, if you're like a paycheck to paycheck type person, then renting is probably better. I get that like home ownership is like kind of put on this pedestal, but it's not right for everybody. It's a good question. And then perhaps with some, financial education, then some people would make the decision to own rather than rent. But I don't think looking at their situation through the lens of your situation is kind of a fair assessment. Can you talk about steps you take to market to new renters and any key points in vetting them? Sure. That's actually pretty easy. We use Appfolio, and Appfolio has made it extraordinarily easy to do all of those things. So when you post a property on Appfolio, I upload pictures and the marketing description in Appfolio. I hit post, and then Appfolio shoots it out to, Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, and then like 40 other websites that I've never even heard of. I guess apartments.com, Abodo, tons of different websites. It doesn't do anything on Facebook or Craigslist, I don't think. And then, it's just a couple of seconds before leads start coming in. I have it set up personally to where we don't show properties. COVID has made that pretty easy. But if you want to get inside the property, you have to fill out an application first. That application costs $50, and that is enough for us to cover the background check and also the credit report. And then we get a report. It's called the screening report, and it has any criminal history they might have, any eviction history. Let's see here. If includes a credit report too, so it'll show all their open accounts, how much they owe, if they're in collections, who they're in collections with, everything that you would expect to see on a credit report. And then that's about it. So, I mean, for us, our qualifications are you have to make 3 times the monthly. Every month you have to make your income has. I don't know why I'm struggling to say this. Your income has to be 3 times greater than the rent. There we go. So if it's $1,000 a month, you have to make at least $3,000 a month. You cannot have any previous evictions, no felonies, no misdemeanors in the past 5 years. And then I don't really pay any attention to credit scores because, similar to the question earlier, why is somebody renting? There's, in the lower property, like when it's like $700 or $800 per month to rent, one could assume that their credit probably isn't that great. Now, of course, it's not fair to make a blanket statement. We've gotten some applications with some very high credit scores, and we've also got some applications with some extraordinarily low credit scores. One credit score was the lowest one that I've seen so far. I think was 481, and I didn't even know that credit scores came in the 400s. So that was pretty crazy for me. Good morning, WB Blue. I think that finished everything up. So that's how we vet people. Those are the qualifications. We really don't stray from that. I've owned my personal house for 12 years. Rents have finally risen enough to consider using it as a rental. That's my main reason for looking at long distance rentals to begin. You've owned your home for 12 years. Rents have finally risen enough to consider using your personal home as a rental. That's the main reason for looking at long distance rentals to begin. I see. Well, that makes sense. I mean, if I didn't live in Dayton, I don't know what I would do, really. I moved here from North Carolina, and I lived in the Raleigh-Durham area where you can't even buy like a condemned home for less than $100,000. So the actual the entry point, the price to enter, I just didn't have enough money to do that at the time. So then I came up here and I bought a duplex for $35,000 and a single family home for $28,000, and things started looking a lot different. You're able to buy a lot of doors for not that much money. But with out-of-state investing comes an extraordinary amount of responsibility and some additional risk. Now, it can be done successfully. I know plenty of people that do it. However, you really have to mind your P's and Q's. All of the out-of-state landlords that I know personally that do a really good job regularly visit their properties here. One lady lives in California, and she spends about 4 months out of the year here in Dayton, just kind of minding over her portfolio. Because people, unfortunately, people take advantage of people pretty quickly, especially if they know that they're out of state, and that feedback loop is a lot larger than if somebody were local. So it can be done. Just be careful. But things can change positively for you. Just keep your options open. That's what I'm talking about. Good encouragement. Even distressed property is a disappointment. ARV of a house I checked this week is 120K. Repair is more than 30K, and they're asking 95 and won't go below 90. So you could do that, but you would have no money. You wouldn't be able to pay yourself or reward yourself at all for doing that. So yeah, I've tried on off market deal. It's just a seller's market right now in Houston. I'm saving more while searching. That's a good idea. At this conference I was at, I met somebody that has 11,000 doors, and that is all in the DFW area. And I think they're starting to look at the build to rents as well because of what you're saying. So you might be onto something, but be careful. Thin margins, a lot of money. I find my properties everywhere. So on PropStream, yes, we find deals there. However, there's no one real way to find all of the deals. I think probably what you should do, and I've been trying to work on like how to say this, and I think a lot of people always say things like you need 7 streams of income. I think that's true for deal flow too. It depends on what you're doing, of course. But if you're looking to build a sizable portfolio, then you need as many streams of deal flow as you possibly can. So looking on the MLS, talking to realtors. I say realtors, and I separate realtors in the MLS because realtors, as everybody, as you're probably familiar, they have what's called like pocket listings where they try to sell it before they even list it on the MLS so that they can get both sides of the commission. So, I mean, it makes sense. So knowing realtors is good. Wholesalers, knowing those guys, really good. Word of mouth. Just, I run my mouth all the time. I talk about real estate investing every chance I get. And because of that, we've been able to get a few just word of mouth properties. What else is there? Foreclosures. You can get properties free there. Direct mail marketing, which is kind of like PropStream. I mean, I guess that is what PropStream is, the postcard portion. So it's called direct mail and PropStream 1. So now we're at 6. Let's see here. What else can you do? People at this conference were saying that they had a lot of luck with like radio ads, putting ads out on the radio, offering to buy people's homes. Yeah, that's so. I guess all I'm saying is there's no one way to find all of your deals. You should find as many deals as you can in as many ways as you can. Yeah, let's just be careful though. I mean, um, it's one of those things where um, it's like, sure, it might be a seller's market. Sure, it might be expensive and areas might not be good, but in every market, in every time period, there have been real estate investors making money investing in real estate. Um, I closed on 2 properties yesterday, and the lady at the title company, she told me this before as well, but she told me again yesterday. She's like, everybody that I know is saying that the market's dry. There's no deals out there, and she's like, and here you are every week in here closing deals. So it's really a perspective, a mindset thing, and then if you keep telling yourself that there aren't deals, then you're going to allow yourself to slack on looking for deals because you've already looked for them. So I'd be really careful about what you tell yourself and the story that you're creating for yourself. So do all that you can to find deals and do all that you can to learn how to make money in your particular market. What's up, man? Do you foresee a bunch of foreclosures in the future? Not in our neck of the woods. I mean, maybe. But I don't know. Maybe. I mean, if interest rates stay low and money regularly gets printed, um, people should be able to pay their mortgages. So, and then I think if hyperinflation actually does happen, then I don't think anybody is going to have a foreclosure because for the most part, mortgages are fixed. And if hyperinflation happens and now, minimum wage goes from, or the, like the, if inflation occurs and it costs, $30 for a gallon of gas instead of $3, your mortgage balance doesn't increase. So presumably wages all across the board would rise. You'd be able to make more money and you'd be able to pay off yesterday's dollars with like an insufficient amount of future dollars. So from a bank's perspective, it's going to be pretty crazy for them if hyperinflation occurs. I wouldn't worry about it one way or another. We're going to make money if foreclosures increase, and we're going to make money if foreclosures decrease. It's kind of the beauty of real estate investing. There's always going to be a plethora of opportunity out there. So I think as of late, my favorite kind of word of wisdom from one of my favorite philosophers. Well, I don't know who said it first, but it's from a movie called Finding Nemo, and the whole gist of it is just keep swimming, just keep swimming. That's all you gotta do. Just keep swimming. What would that do to home prices? They'd go through the roof for homes that you would buy in the future. But it would still be parallel. I mean, what's that Zimbabwe photo where people just had wheelbarrows full of money to buy something. So the home prices would go up tremendously. But not, the amounts that you would owe on the properties in your portfolio currently. That would not go up. So you'd be able to pay them off real quick. So you'd have a free and clear portfolio, and you'd be able to raise rents to whatever inflation says that rents are now. When you apply for a loan, is it in both your name, your brother, and yourself? Both your name, your brother's name, and yourself. Yes, I guess so. Yep. So our loans are in the names of our businesses, our LLCs, but we are a personal guarantee, my brother and I, on our loans. So the loan is in the name of in the business. So the loan doesn't show up on our personal credit reports, but we also personally guarantee them. Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm excited whether hyperinflation does or doesn't happen. I'm just over here swimming. I hope you guys laughed at that as much as I did. That was a good joke. All right. We are at the end of the comment list. We did that pretty quick. What you got? Anybody got anything good? Let's see here. What other banners can I put up here? Post questions in the chat. There we go. Yeah, so far I think mindset is a good thing that we could talk about today. I think that's like the gist of all of the comments, or most of the comments, is just about having the right mindset. Don't jump the gun on selling yourself short. Tolu, for you, I mean, hey, just keep swimming. Just keep looking for those deals like you have been, and you're going to find one. Oh, no. Somebody stole one of the AC units. I just got a text message from, it's not good. But that's okay, too. I mean, don't go around stealing my units for no reason, but. That's okay. That's okay. We'll replace it. Can't go having houses with no AC units and stolen Freon lines. Let's see here. Will you ever consider short-term rental? I've had long conversations about this as of late, and I don't think so. I don't think I would like to try it, but I don't know. Maybe when we build out our team a little bit more, and we increase our bandwidth, perhaps that would be something interesting to entertain. But right now, I don't know. I mean, it sounds nice, but at the same time, if you're going to make more money on a nightly basis, but you're also going to have to turn the units over very regularly, and so then you're going to increase your cleaning costs and whatnot. You also have to pay up front for the furnishings. There's a lot of added costs, and we've got a good thing going for us at the moment, and we're just trying to stay focused and keep doing the whole rinse and repeat thing rather than trying to branch off into something that we're not quite familiar yet with or confident in. But maybe when we increase our bandwidth, that would be something that we look forward to, that we try to test out. But not right now. But we do have some properties that are in really good areas that would be the ideal candidate for short-term rentals. I don't know what this means, honestly, man. I'm sorry. I don't know what the DMV is. And I also don't know what seller concession is. Yeah, I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, man. Are you seeing any issues with tenants paying rent? No. Nope. And that's if you were to get a whole bunch of investors in a room together talking about the pros and cons of investing in the different classes from like D to A, I think for the most part, you have to be a certain type of individual to really thrive in like D class areas. They're like war zones that have tons of like high crime and perhaps even some violence. And then in the C and like lower B neighborhoods and areas and values, it's really like affordable housing. And, just from the name alone, it's affordable. And there was like an exact definition that I learned this past week of what affordable housing is. And these people were fancy in order to figure out how affordable their neighborhoods were. They did something like take the average or annual median income. Yeah, annual median or average. No, median is average. The annual median income of an area divided by something. I don't know. Anyway, all that to say, I'm getting distracted by making my own point. We have had a lot of tenants like lose their jobs, but they were able to find other jobs pretty quickly, and they never really skipped rent. I think they were like, late, a little bit late, but they like explained that. So if a rent is like $700 a month, and you have to make 3 times that to kind of qualify, then you have to make $2,100 a month, and I don't see many applications come in that are lower than that. So if you can make $2,100 a month, then you could afford most of our rentals. So that is one of the key differences or benefits that some investors would say investing in C and lower B neighborhoods is that, because it's the affordable housing for like the working class. There's a lot of safety in that because, our whole economy runs on the working class. Truly, I hope that makes sense. Did you pay much for taxes? This is another one of those mindset questions, right? Like, I don't know. I probably paid the exact amount that I should have. So property taxes, it's one of those things. Yes, we pay a lot of property taxes. It's kind of just part of being in the thing. But paying for taxes is one of those things that I would never say I'm doing too much of if that is what I'm deemed to pay, right? Obviously, I don't want to pay more than I have to. But at the same time, I am absolutely blessed to have the opportunity to pay taxes. And I'm very much so blessed in benefiting from all of the things that come along with the taxes, even if it is a really, really slow moving government. How long do you wait to increase rent when you buy a property that is being rented? That's a really good question. Generally, we follow the lease terms. So if we have a property that is leased out for the next year, we will reevaluate at the end of the lease. If they are on month to month, then and they need to be increased, then we will try to get them off month to month and put them on a lease with us at a higher rate. So it's always tough. It's never fun. We have one property that we are never gonna raise the rent on him, but he's been in that house for over 30 years. I guess I shouldn't say never raise the rent on him. We have no plans of raising the rent on him anytime soon, if ever, because he's been there for so long. Hey, man, I'm really excited that you're on here. I have had every intention of reaching out to you. Can you send me an email? There we go. That's my email. If you could send me an email, I'd love to connect with you on the phone here in the next few days. I've heard a lot about you. Looking forward to it. Yeah, this is interesting. And I think this is a tough one. And I think all entrepreneurs at one point kind of have to figure out a way to get over this, but banks will all the time and always will require like 2 years of like tax returns on your business and whatnot. So, I mean, honestly, I would deploy the capital that you have from Domino's in the real estate space. And then it's kind of like just a waiting game. I would go. So during the first 2 years of us acquiring properties, we did a lot of creative financing for this very reason. Fortunately, we were able to, the 2 years went by pretty quick. We were able to acquire a decent amount of properties. But I think in the first 2 years, most of the deals that we did were somehow creative seller financing, things like that, just because of that whole 2 year thing and the whole thing that you're experiencing. So I think being creative is probably your best bet until you get your, 2 years tax returns on the rental properties or any new venture that you do. Similar to how it was when you had the Domino's franchise. Probably about 2 years of that for banks to start taking you seriously. I think that's typical for anyone that is like mainly retail. I guess that happens a lot by sellers paying closing costs. Every deal is unique and everything's up for negotiation. So you can definitely ask people to pay for stuff. We don't do that. Just as kind of a selling point, we put in pretty low offers for good reason, because we don't ask much of people. Thank you. I really appreciate you consistently watching. Could you talk on finding and making deals on foreclosures? Sure. Sheriff Sales, auction.com. I think foreclosures.com is also a real thing. I've got a really long video about foreclosures. I think you've probably seen it. But foreclosures are a very specific thing that are funneled through the court system. So finding foreclosure deals is really just about logging on, looking at the foreclosures list, albeit via PropStream, the county website, and then just analyzing the deals from there. Are you looking into moving into a higher class of real estate? We are kind of selling off the ones in difficult areas to take advantage of present home prices, doing more flipping. That makes sense. I don't think I'm looking to move into higher areas. We've definitely bought a lot of homes recently in B-ish areas. And that was for two reasons. The first is because we got a pretty decent line of credit that has very favorable financing, and it makes it easier for us to acquire those types of properties. The second reason is to just balance out our portfolio, because a lot of banks really do not like dealing in lower valued homes. And that's our biggest hang up when we're looking for banks to work with us, because not many banks want to look at properties that are less than 75,000. However, if you have a good mixture of properties, some worth mid hundreds, some worth, 20,000 or so, then a bank will kind of overlook the 20,000 one because of the existence of nicer homes inside that same portfolio loan. So right now we're kind of balancing things out so that we can get a little bit of favor with larger lenders as we do larger refinances. So I say larger, it's all about perspective, right? But we've got a few properties that would be impossible to finance. We bought one property for $18,000. It's rented out for $650. But no bank wants to lend on an $18,000 home, and no bank really wants to. It wouldn't appraise for more than 75,000. So we're just trying to overcome some of our bankability issues by balancing out our portfolio. That's a really good question, man. And I agree with you about taking advantage of the market. We have considered flipping, but likely we won't. But we have considered it. Gotcha. Yeah, I never would have guessed that. I don't know anything about those markets, though. I know you said you owned your insurance company. Is that considered self-employment? If so, how did you show proof of income to the lender? So first, it's an insurance agency. Subtle, but big difference. I'm just a salesman. Yes, I do own it. I've owned it for more than 2 years, so that's helpful. So whatever I make from the business, I'm able to just kind of claim, and I'm able to show like consistency of the book of business. Similarly, our real estate business is to the point where it's older than 2 years. So all of our rental income counts as income. So all of our rental property loans at this point are underwritten based on the performance of our real estate company. So I might have to provide a personal financial statement for these loans, but I do not have to show like my personal paycheck or something. Similarly, my brother does not have to provide like pay stubs for his W-2 because it's underwritten on the performance of the business, because we've already done like the 2 years thing. And at this point, I mean, our properties, they produce a sufficient amount of money, definitely enough so to get qualified. And since the loans are in the name of the real estate side, not my insurance agency, then the insurance agency pretty much just kind of becomes irrelevant, except for the impact it has on my personal financial statement. Hope that helps. Zion Darden. My email is ryan@seekwisdom.us. There we go. Winston Bird, if you're still on here, don't forget to reach out to me. Look at you, Zion. You just popped up on my phone too. Thanks for following me on Instagram. I'm going to be a little bit of a disappointment on Instagram. I do very little with it. Thanks, though. All right. Yes, I've bought several homes from auctions. It's okay. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes I don't like it. It's kind of like a, you never really know what you're getting into because you're not really able to access the interior. What are your thoughts of buying modular or mobile homes in distressed areas? Would you rather stay away from them in favor of stick-built homes? I've never really thought about this because it's not available really in this market. I say that I've also never looked for it in this market. I guess the way that I should say it is it's not a prominent issue here. I have looked at building and putting modular homes on a few lots that we own around the city. But, kind of going back to one of the things, I know you've been on the call pretty much since the beginning, so thank you. So kind of, it just doesn't make sense to build new yet. And I don't know of any like modular or mobile lots inside the city, which is where we do our investing. I know of some in like rural areas, but we're kind of just sticking to what we know at the moment. I think it's definitely in our future to put modular homes on places before, as building starts to make more sense. And I think if the market continues to increase, then we will at some point get there. No, I've never flipped anything. I made a vow to myself quite some time ago, about 3 years ago now, and I told myself that I was never going to do anything again that only paid me once. So I know different strokes for different folks. That's just one of my shticks. So I have never sold any properties. I've never flipped any properties. Well, that's kind of included in the fact that I've never sold anything. So everything that I do from, the insurance agency, that stemmed out of me not wanting to do anything that only paid me once. Insurance is like the original residual income model. So there's that. The rentals, that's another recurring revenue model. So with having a new LLC with every 10 homes, wow, you listen. You're on to me. Do you have issues with banks accepting new LLCs for mortgage, or is that the personal guarantee come in? That's a good question. That's a really good question. So we have everything flowing to like a parent LLC. So the profits from the LLCs from the 10 flow up to another entity that is, who it's all one balance sheet, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And no, the banks that we work with, the ones that we just did, so that big refinance that we just did with 36 properties, the loan is in the name of the parent company, but then we have like the mortgages that are to the different LLCs that are property owning. Good job. That's a really good question. Hello, 3D of Tom. Your logo is really good, man. That icon is awesome. I like that a lot. Does your insurance agency do title insurance? Nope. Two separate things. Do you have any experience in title insurance? Nope. Just that I buy it on all the properties. Are quit claim deed homes safe to buy and resale? I don't I don't know what you're talking about. So I know all the pieces of what you just said, but I don't know how that. Let me let me talk out loud for a second and see if this is what you're talking about. Okay. Okay. So a quit claim deed is something that you file just to like transfer the ownership of something without the entire process. So if I owned a property free and clear, there was no liens, no mortgages. Um, in theory, I guess I could quit claim deed the property to someone else. Um, and I guess in theory, that person could hand me money apart from any like title company doing it. What we have utilized quit claim deeds for are like if you have a property in your personal name and you want to put it into an LLC, you would execute a quit claim deed, which takes the ownership of that property from your personal name to an LLC. So I guess in theory, you could also use that as an instrument to deed a property to someone else, but I don't think that makes much sense, and I wouldn't do it. Every single property that we have ever purchased, we have done so utilizing a title company. And if you ever buy a property from anyone, you should go through the title company. So I think to answer your question, is it safe to purchase a home from someone and they just do a quit claim deed? In which case I would say, no, don't do that. I would classify that as not safe. So like I just told Chichi Mikey, I get title insurance on every single property that we purchase. And that protects you from anything that's floating out there that's attached to that property previously that you might not be aware of. And the title insurance says, hey, if we missed something that we're not aware of, we will cover it. So that is really important because kind of like Chichi Mikey said earlier as well, you don't want to spend money and then lose your money. Or just you don't want to buy a property just to figure out that you don't actually own that property. That would be a tough pill to swallow. Thank you. Of course. Thank you for asking your questions. What does a normal work day look like for you? That's a really good question. I would say at this point, the majority of my day is spent kind of doing construction management. Let's see. We currently have 13 properties under renovation. So a lot of my day at the moment consists of running around to these properties, checking on the completion and whatnot of these, where we're at, what's needed, who needs what, and that kind of thing. This conference that I went to has me really motivated to start focusing on systems, processes, getting things a lot more organized. So I don't think I've been too much of a good steward of my working days. So I'm looking forward to organizing things and just becoming a better entrepreneur. That would make me happy. Because the more organized I get, the better of an entrepreneur I become, the more impact I can have. And that makes me happy. Do you do quarterly, semi-annual inspections? Also, are you switching to month leases due to the moratorium? We have evicted a couple people lately. I don't think that moratorium is a real thing in Dayton anymore. So we have successfully, to include filing the writs and meeting bailiffs at the property, 2 people from start to finish in a pretty short amount of time. So no. And I also don't think, I think that's a decent strategy if this moratorium were to happen again, or like stick around long term, if the government somehow decided that you can't evict anyone ever anymore. But I mean, it might feel good, but even if you tell somebody that you don't want to renew their lease, then if they are the type of tenant that you would have to evict anyway, it's not like they're just going to willy-nilly listen to you and up and leave, right? So an eviction would still probably have to take place, I think. But I don't know. Do I have my disclaimer running? Yes. Awesome. So I don't really know what I'm talking about, man. I'm just speaking out loud here and guessing. So no, we are not deploying that or implementing that strategy. I understand that a few people have done it, and it shows you how cool business really is, because you can pivot when things like the government throw a wrench at you. So, and also at this conference, I heard that like somebody threw out a statistic that was pretty crazy, and I don't know how true it is, but I'm gonna botch it. Anyway, the guy was just saying that yeah, I'm gonna botch it. The gist of it is some people make a significant amount of money during recessions, and that the majority of like I can't remember what he called it. I don't know. A bunch of wealth is generated during recessions from people that find opportunities rather than, thrown in the towel. That's all I'm trying to say. Of course, if you were to go back in time, is there anything you would have done different in foreclosures? Back in time, specifically for foreclosures? No. No, there's not. The toughest part about foreclosures is not having access to the interior. So it's a toss up. I mean, it's one of those things where you have no idea what the interior looks like. You could get lucky, or it could be horrible and the property need everything. And because you have no idea what the interior is like, you have no idea what a fair price is. You can't walk it beforehand. You can't get in there in any legal way. I know some guys that kind of break into properties if they are interested in, buying over foreclosure, but that's very illegal and not very nice. So I had never done that. So that's the only thing really. Yeah, that's a good question, but I don't really know how to answer that. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to speaking to you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Do you think foreclosures are a good start? I don't think so. I think if you're 21, I mean, foreclosures, they have their place. They can get you a lot of equity very quick if everything is done very well. But if you get equity from a foreclosure, the chances of you purchasing a foreclosure that doesn't need much work is pretty slim. So, okay. So since you're 21, you are easily in like the absolute highest income earning years of your life. So long as you are thinking long term, and since you are, in college, interested in building wealth, you're pretty far ahead already. So, I think over like 40 years, well, I should just solve this problem again. So let's talk about the future value of $1 real quick. So you're 21. Let's say 65 minus 21. What is that? 44. So if you can invest money and get a 10% return year over year, every dollar that you make now is worth $66 whenever you are 65. So if you get a job making $15 an hour, then you are actually making your retired self $990 per hour. $990 per hour. So everything that you can do to harness as much of your energy into forming wealth at 21, all the savings that you can do, all the investing that you can do, you are making money hand over fist. So you don't necessarily, it's not necessarily necessary for you to also go out and get or try to find things that are like foreclosures. Like, just to get started, the safest route would be by getting great deals on properties that need very little work. Because unless you're going to do all the work yourself, it's really hard if you don't have a sizable portfolio to get decent prices on like the rehab part, or consistent people, or somebody's full attention. And if you have their full attention, then they're likely charging you very high, maybe even too high for the actual project. So the safest route is to slowly build reasonably rent-ready properties at an aggressive pace. And when I say aggressive, I mean you getting the highest paying job that you can, and saving the most amount of money that you can. So limiting your expenses, living off as little as possible, and funneling absolutely as much money as you can into things like real estate. So if you can save up the down payment for one property per year, the snowball is going to be very serious, because as you're acquiring these properties, you're adding to your income from obviously the rental income. So that's what I would suggest you do. Now, once you get into the groove of it, once you get very confident, you can definitely start doing things to generate a decent amount of equity, like the foreclosures, like buying any distressed property and fixing them up. But I would just be careful when you're not too familiar with the real estate space to try and take on projects that have a lot of moving parts. We didn't rehab our first property until we had like 22 properties. That's when we took on our first full-blown, completely gutted rehab. Before that, sure, we did some paint, we did some kitchen cabinets, and we did some flooring, but nothing more serious than that. I hope that's helpful. I know you're going to say I don't buy intangibles, but if you were live on YouTube and someone asked, would you rather buy stock or Bitcoin? Oh man. I would not. Oh man. You're so silly. It's so the things that are most important to me are having positive control over your investments. So if you are investing in a stock, then you do not have positive control over anything. Because even like, Warren Buffett says, like, what was it? What was that silly thing he says? Like the first rule of investing is don't lose money, right? So if you just own a stock, you are kind of putting your good faith towards the employees and owners, or the employees of the business. You're like the last person on the totem pole to ever get paid. And if stuff starts going sideways, the only option available to you is to sell your stock. So the opportunity to lose money is great. And you're giving up control to the people that are running the company. With Bitcoin, who knows what it really is, right? Who knows? I guess you have positive control over it, in the sense that no, you don't. You don't have positive control over anything in there either. You got me spinning my wheels on something that I think are both equally. It's like, was it 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other? Yeah, man. Oh, do you have any thoughts about selecting fixtures, appliances, etc. when you are rehabbing your newly bought properties? This is one of those things that I give to the control of the contractors. I really enjoy giving people the latitude to to make uh, their own choices and make the job one that they would be proud of it, right? Like I want these contractors to take pictures of our properties that they can put in a portfolio to showcase their abilities, right? So I don't like getting caught up in picking things. Perhaps if we had fewer properties, that might be something that I'd be interested in. I know other people that are going to scale do everything very uniform. They use the same paint, the same cabinets every single time on every single project, and I don't really like that either. They say it's so that they could, just buy bulk material, and then there would be no question or trying to match paint or whatever. But I haven't really found that too important. They're all single family homes. Single family homes have their own unique look and feel to them, right? So it would be pretty egregious for me to go in and try to make them all look the same. I think that model would look well, or would work well for like large apartment units that you could just have extra materials laying around. So I'm not worried about that at all. And I really enjoy letting the contractors pick. That way they're kind of proud of it. They have ownership of it. And if it doesn't look right at the end, then it's kind of on them, right? Now, all that to say, we've got some properties that look fantastic. We've got other properties that look horrible. Like the paint is horrible. Nothing goes together and stuff like that. But hey, guess what? I don't really use that guy anymore because of that. So, and I'm not interested in regularly going to Home Depot or Lowe's and looking at stuff to figure out this would be cute with that or things like that. I don't want to make those decisions, and I don't want to spend my energies or efforts in that area. Good question. Greg C., happy to see you back, man. If half of a duplex is vacant, do I need to notify my insurance company to get a vacant policy temporarily? Nope, you sure don't, man. Great question. In multifamily properties, if any of the units is vacant, if any of the units is occupied, let me say this back. Let me dial that back a little bit. In your 1 to 4 family arena, if any of the units are occupied, then it is sufficient to go on an occupied policy. You do not need to go to a vacant policy for that. Great question, man. How did you get financed for your first rental property? How long did you wait to get to the next? I bought my first rental property in cash. I bought property 1 in August of 17. I think I bought property 2 in April of 18. And that's when things really escalated. So 2017, we ended the year with 2 units. The end of 2018, we ended the year with 22 units. The end of 2019, we ended with 38 units. And this year we started with 80 units. Been busy, man. Been real busy. Busy. What are your recommendations on purchasing a multifamily home? Should I finance or go all in cash? I would never go all in cash on anything. And I say that because if you are looking at it from like a 30-year, 40-year perspective, there's a lot of tax benefits and, there's a lot of benefits to leveraging, especially if you're looking at to growing or scaling at all. So definitely finance. That would be my answer. How to go about buying foreclosures? Where do you start? That's actually a pretty easy question. You just so you can go to PropStream. You can click the link that is in the comment that's pinned and or in the description, and you can get a free 7-day trial of PropStream. That is really good for finding foreclosures. PropStream is. If you were not using PropStream, then if you go to whatever county you're interested in and type in whatever county sheriff sale, then you would find all of those foreclosures. And then if you were to go onto the MLS, just like Zillow or whatever, and look for bank-owned properties, you could find those too. You could also download the HUD Home Store app, which is, HUD. It's the FHA, the government's excess properties. And then you can just type in your area and find those foreclosures. And on the HUD home stores and Zillow, like the bank-owned properties, you do actually have access to the interior. Those are kind of like post-foreclosure properties. The courthouse process has already taken place. But if you want in on the courthouse stuff, then PropStream is a good way to find them. And then also just go into the county website. Good morning. I'm a single person wanting to get into real estate. That's funny. I am currently buying a townhome. I still owe $104,000. Do you recommend buying new build versus an existing home? This is for you to live in. I mean, it's really up to your personal preference. Yeah, I don't really have any opinions because that would just be like what you are interested in. If it's your personal home, it's not really, I wouldn't really call it an investment. Sure, it'll have an impact on your balance sheet while you live there, but it's not really, I wouldn't call it an investment. And as far as building new or buying existing structures, in our market, it doesn't yet make sense to build new. And I say that because in our market in Dayton, Ohio, you can buy a property that needs work for like 20 or 30 grand. And then you could put 20 or 30 grand into it, make it brand new, new plumbing, new electric, new mechanicals, new roof. The roof wouldn't fit in that 20 to 30. I take that back. Unless it's like a 1-layer roof, which is rare if it's a distressed property. Generally, there's like 80 layers on it. So then you're all in at 60 grand and you have a brand new property, essentially. The structure is from a long time ago, but you replaced all the innards. And then building new, you could not build a new house here for $60,000. So doesn't make sense yet for here. But for where you are, I'm not sure. It sounds like a personal preference type deal. But great question. That's a brilliant way to think of the pay scale at younger ages. Thanks for the new talking points for my kids. Absolutely. I think that's definitely the way to go. I appreciate you saying that. Will you ever try owning commercial property? We do own commercial property. We bought our first commercial property earlier this year, and we are in the very slow process of turning it into a Mexican restaurant. And that's going to be very exciting. I'm really, really looking forward to that. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. The Winning Brand. That's a good name. Hello, Ryan. Hello, Victor. I am looking to buy a property for the first time. I want to use the California State First Buyer programs. What do you think about it? I don't know anything about it, unfortunately. I'm really sorry to say that to you. But hey, I guess first-time home buying programs are needed when you're paying $1,000 a square foot. So just be careful. Just be very careful. It's definitely a long-term play, but I don't know. The only thing that I am kind of nervous about now, granted, if I'm going to live in a property, I'm very likely going to utilize a very low down payment if it's a personal home of mine. But if you're uncomfortable, if you're like, it's easy if you make a misstep and you put like zero money down, you can get underwater very quickly. So just be careful. Make sure that you have an appropriate amount of reserves, and make sure that you're making a long-term decision, and you're not going to buy this house and then want to move within like the first, 10 years. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to help. Well, we have reached the end of the comment section. I'm going to give this thing about 10 more minutes, and then I'm going to skedaddle or skadoodle, whichever. So if you have any comments, any questions, any concerns, throw them in the chat. Happy to help. In the meantime, check out PropStream. Click the link in the description for a 7-day free trial. You'll be very impressed. It's almost a guarantee. Oh, what a great sales. What a great sales pitch. Let's see. Yeah, still no comments. Still no questions. Post your questions in the chat. For little old Ryan Ingram to take a shot at answering them. Still a little bit twisted up about this Bitcoin versus stocks. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you regularly coming on here. It means the world to me. I have so much fun doing this. This is like the highlight of one of the highlights of my week. Now, last week I was in that conference, and I was trying to figure out how to do the live stream, but the hotel really didn't have any consistent like Wi-Fi. It was very, very spotty. It wouldn't have been strong enough to do it. All right. Well, I'm going to log on to YouTube real quick and see, because there's a little bit of a delay in StreamYard. See if I'm missing any questions. Oh, Greg C. Thanks, man. All right, here we go. What do you think could be done to compete in more competitive markets when looking for off-market deals? How could I stand out from other investors? Cash, quick close, not require any like any repairs or anything. I think speed and ease are always what makes people most happy when it comes to like real estate. And I mean, being competitive, like in a competitive market, you still want to be careful, because I don't think I would want to be competitive in a competitive market, especially if that means like overpaying on stuff. So I know a lot of times when markets get really competitive, people start overpaying, and then it just comes down to like who can afford to make the thinner margins. So like in your bigger places, when hedge funds can gobble up these properties, which is probably what's happening to Tolu out there in Houston. I'm just guessing. If you're only looking to make a 5% cap, what local mom and pop investor could ever keep up with that? Know what I mean? Other than that, speed and ease. That's a good question. I've been calling this a real estate conference because that's kind of what it felt like, but it wasn't that. And it was that's kind of the ease, right, of just saying it that way. This was actually an event put on by a bank that we work with. Any advice about finding or funding my first deal? I have about $15K to put towards a property that's $50K. Sure. I mean, log on to the MLS via Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, any of those. Start looking for some properties. Jump on Facebook and get into some of the local real estate groups and network with some wholesalers and ask them to send some deals your way. Reach out to some realtors. Get some recommendations from that realtor group of realtors that like to work with investors. Some like it, some don't like it at all. Some realtors would rather do, $50,000 transactions all day long. Some realtors want to do as few transactions with at the highest dollar they can. So find one that you wouldn't be annoying, and have them set you up like an alert so that you get emails each time something new hits the market that's inside of your parameters. And you'll be well on your way. Also, PropStream, using the link in the description below. I have a video out about my opinions on turnkey rental properties. I think if you're interested in them, you should bump up your due diligence by about 100 to 200%. You can probably find a rent-ready property on the MLS just listed normally, not through a turnkey provider, and you would probably get a lot better service. These turnkey companies seem to throw a lot of quote-unquote perks at investors that are very unnecessary, and I don't know how. Yeah, you should just check out the video. I think I say it a lot better on that video. Do you think a first investment property should be a single family or apartment 5-up complex? I mean, my entire portfolio, with the exception, I think we've got 2 or 3 4 units, a 3 unit, and then we're about to have. Okay, okay. Let me really think real quick. So we have 2 4 units. Maybe we have 2 or 3 4 units. 1 3 unit. We're about to have another. We're going to close on a 3 unit because it's part of a package of single family homes. This was the only 3 unit. So we're going to have 2 3 units and then a handful of duplexes. And then the rest are all single families. And we're up to 110 units. So I'm not sure the math on that. We're about to be to 130 by the time we close on that other package. So let's just say we have 2 4 units. So it's 8 plus 6, 14. So yeah, less than 20 of our units are multifamilies. The rest are single families. I prefer single families. There's no right or wrong answer. It really just comes down to what are the problems that you want to have. And I do not my personality is not one that appreciates the problems that come with owning multifamilies. We need to get the likes up. This guy's awesome. Thank you, WB Blue. Should I use my wife's credit and my credit to apply for a home loan for a first-time buyer, or just my credit? That's up to you and your wife. I would probably, most cases, it really doesn't matter. I don't know. I'm not a mortgage loan officer. My brother is. I'd be curious. I might ask him this later. I'm not so sure it would do anything for the rate. I don't know your state's laws on marriage. Like if you guys were to split, what would happen? I don't know. It's really up to you. I would definitely use both people's money though. What books do you recommend? The Wealthy Gardener by John Saforic, Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Let's see here. Building Wealth One House at a Time. That's a good book. The Richest Man in Babylon. I've got like a books list. I think it's in the description of most of the videos. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. These are just like all the books that I've read. I really, really enjoy reading. That is kind of what has really allowed me to kind of change my life, was just tapping into the knowledge that people were so kind to write down. So here I'm commenting below the books read. So those are all the books that I've read. When it comes to finding wisdom and whatnot, it's not like there's one source of it, right? Well, I said that wrong. There's not like there's one place that you can go to get all of it, right? You just pick up little nuggets as you go along from a variety of different sources. So one book, I think The Wealthy Gardener is probably one of the coolest, probably like the best book written in like the self-improvement, self-development space in like the past decade, in my opinion. I like it more than Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was very helpful. But it also, I try to stay away from when people kind of are try to be so polarizing, right? Rich dad, poor dad. That's very polarizing. When people say, smart money, stupid money, I don't like stuff like that. And the wealthy gardener, I really feel like it is completely intended on meeting people where they're at in life. So if you want to, have a net worth of like 100 million plus, then that book is going to be helpful to you. If you want to, get $500 extra per month, if that would mean the world to you, then The Wealthy Gardener would also still be a really good fit. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you don't take action and do all of the things that he says, or if you don't agree with him on all fronts, he just kind of becomes a little bit condescending. So I don't like that style. Good morning. Do you have any insight into how to buy raw land from the city? It's not up for auction, but the assessor's office shows it's owned by the city. No former owner. I'm in Oklahoma. No, unfortunately, I don't know. And if it's owned by the city, I'm sure they're going to have a predisposed way that they determine how to fairly give that money to, or give that land, or let people buy that land. So I would just reach out to the city and ask them how they handle their surplus land that they own, and how they are, and if they're interested in how you could potentially buy it from them. Do you think a first investment property should be a single family? I think I answered that. Maybe you just didn't like my answer. I want to do cash on the single family and do fund and grow if I do an apartment complex. Thanks for your response. Makes sense. And there's the books read. All right. Well, hey, I really appreciate it, everybody. Thank you. We have 24 people on the call, and that means the world to me. I've been reflecting on this a lot, and it's kind of like, when I was in college, I went to classrooms with fewer people in it than this. So thank you for kind of helping me feel like I'm actually teaching a class on Friday mornings. So I truly have so much fun doing this, and you guys are bringing some awesome questions to the table. So, hey, next Friday, 8 a.m., right here, Eastern Standard Time. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. Goodbye.